There are two ways to live life. One way is the way of the ego, and the other way is of the way of the wisdom. There are just two ways to live life. We can also call it the way of the ego, which is the way of the unconscious, or which is the way of the illusion, because ego itself is illusion. And the other way to live life is the way of the consciousness, or the way of the heart, or the way of the wisdom. There is no other way to live life. These are only two possibilities to live life. Can you think of any other way? What is the way of the ego to live life? Have you ever thought about that? Let's open it a little more, or let rather simplify it a little more. The way of the ego is, ego exists in polarities. Ego only knows broadly two ways of living: the life of attraction and the life of repulsion. That's it. Whatever we've just described, you can put it into any of these categories. Facebook likes, attraction. Appreciation and acceptance by other, attraction. Thumb down on YouTube, repulsion. Non-acceptance by other, repulsion. Ego only exists in these two polarities, broadly. The polarity of attraction and the polarity of repulsion. 95%. 5% ego also exists in a zone called numbness. Unconcerned. What is the other word for that? Indifference. That's 5%. Huh? But why don't we put it as a way of the ego? Why I'm saying just 5%? Because indifference, numbness, unconcernedness is very equal to a state of vegetating or death. It's like whatever is happening around me, I'm absolutely negatively indifferent about it. Yeah, which means the heart is not beating anymore. Which means I can't feel anything. Comfortably numb. You sound like that, huh? Which means I've become comfortably numb, which is like on a ventilator, so to say. The breathing is working, the digestion is working, but I'm basically on ventilator because I'm absolutely comfortably numb. So I don't even call it the way of the ego, because that's basically way of the death. Yeah. So ego largely exists in these two zones: the zone of attraction and the zone of compulsion, repulsion. Can you think of any other state in which ego exists, in which the notion of I am exists, beyond the two spaces of attraction and repulsion, beyond the two polarities of attraction and repulsion? Just see, they exist in each one of these categories. Okay. Yeah. There's an insecurity in you about something, repulsion. And the repulsion came because you were too attached to something, attraction. And that gave rise to these two emotions: the attachment and insecurity and fear, attraction and repulsion. Okay. It's such a phenomenal simplicity. If you start to look at it as it is, life, spirituality, sadhana, journey becomes absolutely simple. I've come to realize that there cannot be anything more simpler than spiritual way of living. Nothing can be as simple as that, because it's just a straight path. There are no curves. It's a straight path of the wisdom of the heart. No complexity. All the complexity is of the ego, which is attraction and repulsion. And how many books have we read about ego? Trying to figure out. It's as simple as that. Now, when we call ourselves people on the path, when we call ourselves seekers, when we call ourselves that we're looking for peace, happiness, bliss, and yet the way we are living our life still exists as a way of the ego, will we reach somewhere? Or will we keep oscillating between the attractions and the repulsions of the world or the phenomena all around us? And then, what is the other way to exist or live? Is the way of the wisdom, which is outside the purview of the ego. And what is the way of the wisdom? Again, very simplicity put. When you know that ego exists in two polarities of attraction and repulsion, and when you try and not be associated with these two polarities and still live your life based on the wisdom of the heart, which we all have. If we meditate or we don't meditate, does not matter. We all have the wisdom of the heart. Everybody. It's just that if we're not meditating, it's not accessible. Or if you're not centered, it's not accessible. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what is meditating then? Is it just sitting like this? Or there's something else? I think today is a day of simplicity, so we're going to simplify everything. We're just going to take all the complexity from our system and throw it out. What is meditating? So is meditating simply sitting and breathing? Or is meditating going to the temple, as Kabir ji is saying?
Yeah.
Or meditating is
Jap and tap.
Chanting? Or meditating some dynamic form of meditation? Or meditating tantra? Then what is meditating? What is meditation? Let's
witness consciousness.
Witnessing consciousness. Very beautiful. What is witnessing consciousness? We just understood that ego exists in these two polarities and these two extremes of attraction and rejection. Yeah? These are two extremes. It's like a clock which has a pendulum which goes one extreme of attachment or attraction, other extreme of repulsion, rejection. Yeah? The pendulum is moving. Meditation is nothing but the pendulum stopping in the middle, which is I'm neither there in the attraction or nor here in the rejection mode. I'm centered, as Buddha said. I'm centered. That's meditation, isn't it? Is it too complex to understand what is meditation? No. Now I can try to be centered using many techniques. So sitting silently and watching your breath could be one of the way to stop the pendulum. So that pendulum comes in the middle. We can devise as many meditations as we want based on our composition. But essentially, we are saying that can the pendulum stop its movement of extreme polarities? It's in the center where the wisdom starts to open up. It's in the center where you start to access the wisdom of the heart, which is already residing there. It's right in the center. That is why no matter which culture you go, in fact, it was very interesting to see, we were in Ealing yesterday. We were in Ealing yesterday.
Today also.
Today also, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So last night we were with some friends and we were walking in the night, and there was this homeless man sitting on the street. And I just saw one of us give something to that homeless man. And the moment we did that, one of us did that, this homeless man, which was not from India, or he was not from East, but he touched this part of his body, and in some gesture both hands came together and he kind of bowed down. And I just looked at that because it happened behind my back, so to say. So I just looked that I saw something. Why this expression? And if you go to any culture, when people want to say that I love you, they would touch here. Or when people are wanting to say, honestly, I'm saying something, they want to show you honesty, they'll touch here. Right? Or when they want to bow down in gratitude, the hands will go like this. Or it'll touch this again, right? So then we explored that when we are touched by something, why don't we say, ah? It could also be an expression, right? Because mind is what is active all the time. Why hand goes here?
Heart space.
Why does it go to the heart space?
The heart space, it's really
Because the wisdom, you feel touched by an inner knowing, an inner wisdom. And that inner knowing and inner wisdom, this is the place for that. So across all cultures, you will say the hand goes here. I have not seen any culture, any part of the world, where if they want to bow down in gratitude, instead of saying this, they could do this. Yeah, or they do this. You cannot find it. Nobody is teaching them that to do this, but the hand would go here. It's a phenomenon of nature. Consciously or unconsciously, we all know that the wisdom of the heart is here, which is the center. This is an extreme. Yeah, that is why we don't say thank you. Or we
Even the
don't.
eyes gets closed. and
Even the eyes
goes
get
inside,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah, when you are in gratitude and you kind of bow down, automatically the eyes gets closed. In the moments of wowness, the eyes are closed. Why eyes are closed? Not because you don't want to see that, because they go inward. Eyes roll back inward. Your system knows the wisdom is here, which is the center, which is not a polarity. Yeah. Coming back to this is meditativeness. Right now we are sitting here. Do you think we are in meditation or no? Yeah, I feel we are in meditation. Why I feel we are in meditation? Because we are quite centered in the middle right now. Our minds are not in the attractions and the repulsion polarities. Our minds right now are not in the past and the future extremes. We're quite here. Yes? Are we engaged in any meditative technique right now? We're simply here. Is this too difficult to do in life? Did we do anything to be here right now in this space? No. Though we did one thing. We poured our attention to this moment. We did something magically, without even realizing we're doing something. That when we started, we all poured our attentiveness to being here. Bingo. Meditative space dwelled or came. We started dwelling in the meditative space. It's as simple as that. There's nothing complex about it. This is the whole of spirituality. We can read enormous books, all scriptures, different traditions. Hindus were too ahead. They wrote millions of scriptures because there were different ways, different things, different experiences people wanted to share. But broadly, it is as simple as this. Yeah? Yeah. All it needs is our knowing, or in a way, our knowing to see that I'm doing an action or a response or an emotion is arising in me, Is it arising as part of the ego, which is attraction and repulsion? Or is it arising as part of the wisdom? It's extremely easy to see that. Any emotion, any feeling, anything that arises into you, you can actually see where is it coming from. And as I'm saying, there are only two things it can come from. The duality of ego or the space of heart wisdom.